The oceans had their sea serpents, the skies had their dragons. But the land is where humans actually lived, slept, and raised their children, and the creatures they invented to fill the forests, mountains, and labyrinths around them were designed to make you afraid to leave your door at night. These weren't distant threats lurking in deep water. These were the things waiting on the road, in the cave, or just past the tree line. These are the most dangerous land creatures in mythology. The Chimera was one of the most feared monsters in ancient Greece. It had the head of a lion, the body of a goat, and a tail that ended in a living serpent. It breathed fire hot enough to scorch the earth beneath it, and for years it terrorized the region of Lycia in modern-day Turkey, burning villages and killing anyone who tried to stop it. Armies failed. The creature was considered unkillable. Eventually, the hero Bellerophon was sent on what was meant to be a suicide mission. He flew above the Chimera on the winged horse Pegasus and drove a lead-tipped spear into its mouth. The fire melted the lead, which poured down the creature's throat and sealed its lungs from the inside. The Chimera didn't die from strength or sword. It died choking on molten metal. Cerberus guarded the gates of the Greek underworld. A massive hound with 3 heads, a mane of living serpents, and a tail that was itself a snake. His job was simple: let the dead in, let nothing out. He never slept, never wandered, and never failed. Only a handful of figures in all of Greek mythology ever got past him. Orpheus played his lyre so beautifully that all 3 heads fell into a trance. Heracles wrestled the dog into submission with his bare hands as the final labor of his 12 trials. Every method required either impossible talent, impossible strength, or trickery. There was no honest way past the dog at the door. The Minotaur lived beneath the palace of King Minos on Crete, inside a structure called the Labyrinth, designed by the inventor Daedalus. The creature was half man and half bull, born from a curse Poseidon placed on Minos after the king broke a promise. The labyrinth was so complex that no one who entered could find their way out. Every 9 years, Athens was forced to send 7 young men and 7 young women into the maze as tribute. None came back. The hero Theseus volunteered, killed the Minotaur with his bare hands, and only escaped because Minos's daughter Ariadne gave him a ball of thread to trace his path. Without that thread, even killing the monster wouldn't have saved him. The Sphinx sat outside the city of Thebes and asked every traveller a single riddle. Answer correctly, and you pass. Answer wrong, and she killed you, dragging you off the road and devouring you. The riddle was simple enough. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 at noon, and 3 in the evening? The answer is a human being, a baby crawling, an adult walking, and an old person with a cane. No one answered correctly for a long time, and the bodies piled up. When Oedipus finally solved it, the Sphinx threw herself off a cliff. She didn't accept defeat. The creature had existed for one purpose, and once that purpose was fulfilled, there was nothing left. The Manticore came from Persian mythology and was later adopted by Greek writers. It had the body of a red lion, the face of a human man with 3 rows of iron teeth, and a tail covered in venomous spines that it could launch like arrows. It ate its prey whole, bones, clothing, and all, leaving absolutely nothing behind. That detail was the point. If a person disappeared in the wilderness and no trace of them was ever found, the Manticore was the explanation. No body, no belongings, no evidence. It was faster than any horse, impossible to trap, and smart enough to ambush travelers on roads. The Manticore wasn't designed to be fought. It was designed to explain why people sometimes vanished without a trace. Fenrir was a wolf from Norse mythology, and the gods were afraid of him from the moment he was born. He was the son of the trickster god Loki and a giantess, and prophecy said he would devour Odin, the king of the gods, at the end of the world. The gods raised Fenrir themselves, hoping to control him, but he grew so large and so fast that they panicked. They tried to bind him twice with massive chains. He snapped both. Finally, they commissioned the dwarves to forge a magical ribbon called Gleipnir, made from 6 impossible things. The sound of a cat's footstep, the beard of a woman, the roots of a mountain, the breath of a fish, the sinews of a bear, and the spit of a bird. Fenrir sensed the trap and agreed to be bound only if one of the gods placed a hand in his mouth as a sign of good faith. The god Tyr volunteered. When Fenrir realized he couldn't break free, he bit Tyr's hand off. The wolf has been chained ever since, with a sword driven through his jaws to keep them open, drooling a river from his mouth. At Ragnarok, the chain will snap, and Fenrir will swallow Odin whole, exactly as the prophecy promised. The Nemean lion was the first of Heracles' 12 labours. Its golden fur couldn't be pierced by any weapon. Arrows bounced off, swords bent, spears shattered. Heracles cornered the lion in its cave, blocked one entrance, walked in through the other, and strangled it to death with his bare hands. He then used the lion's own claws, the only thing sharp enough, to skin it, and wore the hide as armour for the rest of his life. The pelt that no weapon could pierce now protected the man who had killed its owner. The Nuckelavee is the most horrifying creature in Scottish folklore. It came from Orkney Island mythology and was described as a horse-like figure that rose from the sea with no skin. Its entire body was exposed muscle, black blood pulsing through yellow veins, with a single giant eye, and a head that rolled loosely on a neck too thin to support it. Its breath could wilt crops and sicken entire villages. The only thing it couldn't cross was fresh water. When it rode inland, people ran for the nearest stream and prayed they made it. Most monster myths give you a weapon or a hero. The Nuckelavee gives you a head start and a river. That's it. The land was never safe. Every culture knew that. The forests, the mountains, and the roads between cities were full of things that didn't want you there. These creatures weren't invented to entertain. They were invented because people needed a name for the feeling they got when the sun went down and the path ahead went dark. Subscribe if you want to see every creature from Japanese folklore explained next. And tell me in the comments which land creature you think is the most terrifying. I'll see you in that video.